Let's segue to 3.6 and 3.11. So, Ms. Varonis, would you lead us off on this?
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. What is before you is a proposal to adopt a resolution approving a policy for online comment forms for the Oakley City Council meetings. There has been some discussion at the past couple meetings how these comment cards would be handled, and we contacted some other cities that actually have implemented these online comment forms and just sought some recommendations from how they actually handled these forms during the council meetings. We've had some feedback from the cities, and essentially the feedback we have received is that none of the cities actually will read the comments into the record. They actually like to just have the comments available for the council members to read prior to the meeting, and usually that's done via email, and then with a follow-up by the city clerk providing the council members with the actual comment forms in hand before the council meetings. Most of them have a cutoff time where they will end receiving these comment forms prior to the council meetings. And with that, the council members do have the opportunity to review the comments prior to the council meetings. And then it also provides those who do not wish to have their comments or their names read into the record, preserving their anonymity. So it's, I think, a win-win situation for both the council members as well as the public. What we are proposing this evening is there are a few options before you of what our policy may be. The one that we actually would recommend would be policy option number 2, in which the person submitting the comment online could actually vote in favor of the item. They could vote against it, or they could be neutral, and then they could also provide a number of words as far as comments that you would be able to read prior to the meetings. This would again preserve that anonymity with the actual person that's submitting the comment, and then would also allow you the benefit of knowing how many people are in for or against or neutral on an item.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Varonis from council? I do have one speaker part on this, and that would be Mr. Paul Seeger.
When Randy Pope brought this item to the council's attention on August 8th, he said that he wanted this so that Oakley residents could participate in the process so that they can have their comments read into the record and that they could have their voices heard. Also, the comment that I sent in for item 3.2 addresses the idea of testimony. If this is not public testimony, when it's being submitted via online to be considered by the council, I think that needs to be made very clear to the people that you're not really, your point is really not going to be considered testimony. It's just public comment. And then, because in the past couple of meetings, they were kind of just, well, I'll just introduce them into the record, even though they were on, you know, a couple of people submitted comments for actual agenda items. And Mr. Pope also made reference that he had not received those cards, and a hearing took place. And therefore, if the people are to have their voices heard, for the entire legislative body to not be able to hear every point that people are making, this is our first chance at the city council meeting to speak on these issues if you don't want to go socialize with our legislators, which a lot of people don't. I actually don't mind, but a lot of people just really don't want to do it. They don't have time. Yeah, and so yeah, it would be nice to have some clarification on that. And the last thing I'd like to make a point on is, as I submitted my comment today, The two check boxes were, it wasn't clear. I want to speak, which I didn't want to speak, or you're going to have it put in the record. Well, no, I want it read aloud. That's what I want. I want it read aloud. So I want for the people that are sitting here to have the opportunity to hear the perspective of the people that are putting in their public comments, trying to influence your decision on subject matters that they can't attend council meetings for. I think that's fair, and it should be made very clear. And those check boxes, there should be more. It's sad that a lot of good comments got tossed aside in the past couple meetings because it's taken, what, 2.5 months to get this system in order. And that's all I've got to say.
So with that, we've got the explanation. So looking for a motion moving forward.
Do they already listen?
We have some discussion before the motion. I'd like to make some suggestions on it.
Knock yourself out.
I'm looking actually online at the page on the website now, and I think just as clarification, kind of what Paul spoke to, where it says, I wish to speak, I think that should be changed to, I want this read. And then the next checkbox is pretty clear. It says, I do not wish to speak, but I want it entered into the record. So if you want it read, you can very clearly, I want it public, we're going to say your name, address, everything. The other one, the council members should receive it prior to the meeting. And I think we should have very clearly on this page the cutoff time, so citizens have a clear expectation. But as far as the options go, I think option 1 and option 3, I don't necessarily like option 2, is this kind of informal voting. I think Carol brought up some good points about the legitimacy of that. We don't have the sophistication in our system to vet out these unofficial votes, but people can enter their comments, and very clearly through their comments we're going to see whether they're in favor or not. So 1 and 3.
Councilmember Roman.
There's a fairly simple way with IP addresses to prevent someone from using the same IP address to enter multiple. It's done all the time. It's just a fairly simple process that our IT guys should have set up. So we check the IP address to make sure you're not sitting there just flooding the system with requests. My concern with reading them is what happens if we get 35, 40 requests and everybody wants it read. It could become a rather very laborious task to go through that process. The problem is with going for it.
Is it when they're going to come in here and read them?
Because where we lose the audience in here with by reading them. I watched the mayor the first time we tried reading them all. It was somewhat labor intensive and lost a lot of its meaning.
Councilmember Rios.
Okay, looking at these options, option 1 gives the person the boxes to check. The comments would be included in the minutes, only if the person wants the comments read into the record. I think that would take care of addressing verbiage that if the person wanted their comments noted. We as council people would get the comments via email before the cutoff time. So it's basically better because we would have the comments ahead of time. We could sort them, digest them, read them, and think about them before the meeting, as opposed to having comments hitting us one after the other. But it would also give the person that's making the comment the opportunity to have them actually in the minutes. And I think that's important. The whole concept is to communicate with your council. We're the ones making the decisions. You want us to understand what you have to say. It's not to be entertainment for who's sitting out in the audience. I think by putting the minutes, by putting the comments in the minutes verbatim by that person, would take care of putting it for public record. And I would like to have the comments ahead of time so I can read them, digest them, and get a feel for what this person is saying, and get a real sense of direction. I think that's the purpose of comments, public comments, is you get to tell us what's on your mind. And it's better to have it said in a way that we can digest it and see it in the big picture, as opposed to hitting one comment after the other. I like to organize them, put them in kind of, a lot of times you see the big picture that way. So my suggestion would be doing option 1 and including the comments in the minutes, if the person wants them read into the record. And also the option 3, part of option 3, is to have the online comments directed to the city council via email ahead of time. And can you blend those two? And that's just my opinion. We can talk about it. I think that would be the best for all of us.
Thank you. And so, moving forward with this, trying to get this out there so that we have the accessibility. The intent was pure to get the comments from the individuals that can't come to council meetings or do not want to come, but have an opportunity for their opinions to be forwarded to the council. So, working through the process of, there's different cities that do it different ways, and we're just trying to figure out the right way that works for Oakley. And so, the process is, I would rather protect somebody's right to be anonymous without taking it for granted that they wanted it. So I would rather caution on the ability to make sure that that their rights were protected as moving forward. So that's why we did that, or I did that. But I like the fact that we're moving forward. This is why we asked for it as an agenda item on the last council meeting, to provide direction and possibilities to the council. And since I've had to deal with this, I do like the option 1, moving towards the blended portion of number 3. I think in policy option number 2, we're going to get that anyway, in favor or against, as far as their comments moving forward. So I that's where I'm sitting at. I do like the cutoff, and I do like them in the process that you've been emailing them to us, and we have them to read with our staff reports moving forward, and I do appreciate that, and I do integrate them when I get them from you, from our city clerk. So I've got right now we have consensus with 2 council members with a policy option number 1 and policy option number 3. Am I understanding you, Mr. Pope, that you're of the same mindset?
Yeah, after listening to the concerns of the other council members, I think not having to verbally read them at the meeting, I think is okay. Having them in the minutes, I think satisfies everybody's concern that they actually are part of the record, that we did read them, and the fact that we're getting them beforehand. Yeah, I think with those concerns, I think that addresses my issues.
Councilmember Rubin?
So if we're looking at blending 1 and 3, we're going to take option number 1 from policy option number 1.
1 and 2.
1 and 2, not speak, but have the comment read into the record. We're not going to read it into the record.
No, if they want it read into the record, we'll read it into the record. If they want it just entered into the record, we will do that, but we need to be more clear if we don't have that right now.
My concern is if we're going to read in 20 comments or 10 or 15 comments into the record, slow our meetings down, we're going to lose the audience because they're going to fall asleep during this read. Are there any other cities who are currently reading these things and reading them aloud?
No, not at this time. For the cities that we surveyed, none of them read them into the record, and I think it is partially due to your same concern. Cities that are much larger than Oakley, such as the city of Oakland and the city of Sacramento, they receive hundreds of cards per meeting, and they just don't have that time to read those into the record. That would certainly go into much of the meeting itself.
Councilmember Rios?
One question, is this an urgency item that we need to make a decision on? Considering it's going to be how we run our meetings, would you consider, Mayor, possibly putting this off into the next meeting so that Councilmember Anderson might be a part of this decision process?
Well, we do have a ability for these to get to us now. So I would think that we could move forward with an extension of trying to vet this out with maybe a few more inquiries to other cities that are our size and what they're doing also. And we'll move forward with it. I think, like I say, we want to make this right, make it work. It's just going to take a little bit of time to work the bugs out of it, and I want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to be attainable from our public. So I'll entertain a motion to postpone this item. Councilmember Rios?
Thank you, and I would make the motion that we postpone the item to adopt a resolution approving a policy for online comments for Oakley City Council meetings to December 13th, to the next meeting.
I have a first. I have a first. I'm looking for a second. Second? I second it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Opposed. Nay. Abstentions? Deadline? So moves. Motion fails. We'll move.
Other motions could be considered.
Mr. Bob, I'd like to hear what your recommendation is right now on how this policy should go.
I think, well, I hope we can resolve tonight. I would make, my motion would be to adopt policy option 1 with the modification not to read them into the record, but have them entered into the minutes verbatim.
Is that a motion?
Yes, a motion, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I might jump in very rudely, but I saw the city clerk was about to. There are all of the minutes that we prepare are summary minutes, as you well know. And so the only consideration as you're about to vote is those that come and speak would receive a summary of their comments. Very easy because it's already typed to just cut and paste and place in. There would be a difference between if you spoke in the meeting, there'd be less clarity than if you submitted. Just if that changes your consideration at all, because we don't do verbatim minutes. Is that about what you're about to say?
Exactly. Thank you.
I think it's relevant because those that are here and speak, whether they are given any greater deference or not, that's up to you certainly, but it appears that perhaps it should be, and we don't keep a verbatim record of them. So,
And that's just like, the fairness and in typing for our minutes, I've modified my motion, strike the word verbatim, and would be a summary of the comments.
On both?
Is that a Brown Act violation?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is.
I have first.
Where's the lawyer? They're voting for it.
As amended,
I
I'll
don't
second.
know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What the hell's
Opposed?
Derek doing over there?
Abstentions? Hearing none. Motion carries forward.
Mulligan.
And so we'll move on to public hearings.